Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are back, admin chat. It is a new Marvel show. We got a nice little closeout to WandaVision, and now we're on to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the Sam and Bucky show. I think they really should have called it the Sam and Bucky show. I think that would have been a good title. But we have the joining this back this time, the returning cast. Why is that playing? That should not be playing. Returning cast for this spoiler talk is myself. I am Sam, one of the admins here at Grown A Geeks. We've got Brent with us today. Brent, say hello.
How you doing, everybody?
You may know Brent from the GAG Sports Network, where he hosts the wonderful podcast, GAG on These Balls, and they have a variety of topics to talk about, mostly sports, all this great stuff. You can catch his podcast weekly at our YouTube channel. QR codes are not in the corner, but you saw them at the earlier slide, so go back to the beginning of the video or scan the one on the logo screen. Here again for all things Marvel, we got Will. Say what's up, Will.
What's going on, people?
We will probably have some opportunities to do a lot more registering. We've got some good content that's come out recently, and we'll be able to get into all of that registering. There might even be some things we could registering with this. I need a little bit more to go on off this one episode. It's kind of hard, but we'll get there. And due to his fantastic hosting duties, I don't have to have him tell me to smash that like button, smash that notification, and ring that bell. Like, we're not going to put him through that today. But he's fantastic at hosting, so he is going to host this show for us. Jeffrey. Say what's up, Jeff.
What's up, everybody? Happy to be back. More Marvel content. Marvel's going to be holding us down pretty much every week for the rest of the year. So I'm excited to get into this show.
Sam taking his model shirt.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. Oh, cause see, which one did you see? I don't know. Could you see that it was?
One, but the light is blinding everything.
So, and that one is. So yeah, it has the well, Brett, isn't that this is the one that's on your shirt? Show him that. There we go. So for those of you who are,
Get in the merch. Definitely make sure you check out the merch page. I think it was on one of the slides earlier.
it is.
The
It
lovely,
is.
photo shoot that Sam and his family did. A lot of our wonderful product that you can go out there and buy for yourself so you can represent the GAG crew just like every one of your admins.
So
He doesn't sound like a girl.
You can record, you can clip that so I don't ever have to do that again.
as soon as I get that, that's gonna be right there. We'll put that with the other one, so it'll be on the podcast. People will be able to hear that there. So okay, I've moved all the things that make noise around me away. So I try to do better. Just try to sit here on my hands and not do anything.
Yeah, so let's hop right into the show because episode title New World Order. We've kind of already talked about some of the logistic stuff in some of our WandaVision videos in terms of when this was supposed to come out. So if you haven't checked those out, please go back and make sure you check out all of our WandaVision spoiler recaps. We love the engagement. Smash that like button on those videos too. Help us out. But here, New World Order definitely feels like kind of an extension of what we were doing in WandaVision, where this is post-Blip, post-Thanos, post-Cap, original Avengers group, Iron Man gone, Cap gone, Black Widow gone, a lot of people, Vision gone technically. So this is kind of our first foray back into another aspect of the kind of MCU after the Blip. And so let's just start. We always kind of start with initial thoughts on the episode. I'm going to come to Brent first. Brent, what were your kind of thoughts, feelings, overarching opinions about this episode?
Well, it was nice that it was a complete 180 from everything that we did with WandaVision, and I kind of like the way they set this up, because you go from a show that's really just going to be like philosophical, to make you think and make you question everything, every little bit of information you know. You staring at the screen for every little nook and cranny, little Easter egg you could possibly imagine. And this show, within like the first 5 minutes, had just as much action as WandaVision probably had the entirety of the show. So they really swung out of the park on this one, and I actually really enjoyed what we saw there. I mean, there was very little that really needed to be discussed, but at the same time, I liked how it opened. A little slow, but it was everything I needed just to get that ground floor of information. I'm not gonna jump as quickly as I did on stuff like I did for WandaVision, so gonna let it, cook that chicken.
Gonna let it marinate.
Let the season soak in. All right. Speaking of seasoned chicken, we're gonna go to our resident chef and Weird Stringer. Will, initial thoughts on New World Order?
I mean, I gotta agree with Brent with that. I mean, definitely a lot of little things to see on the way, so that just with certain characters, so that back and forward, new characters coming in, what their potential purposes could be. So Marvel Western. I like that we had action out the gate because it's something that we've been missing. So definitely fun to get a little bit of that going. And again, I like how they're Disney's been doing decently about touching up on some of the topics that we deal with in everyday life and stuff like that. So the fact that they're kind of going down those roads and stuff like that, and giving a little light and exposure to these things is definitely a plus.
100% agree with you on that. Sam, thoughts, feelings?
Excitement, enjoyment, curiosity. The first 15 minutes earned the remaining 45 minutes. It jumped right in, and I thought the show was going to be structured a lot differently. And just based on the way they did the opening segment, I thought that this was a completely different story. So it definitely has me curious as to where they plan on, how they're going to get to what I've seen in the trailers and things like that. But it is very MCU, action heavy, and that's a very smart move to open up with that and get everybody back in. I don't know if they had that plan to be in a different segment or something like that, or if that was edited in that way. Everybody was like, well, WandaVision started off real slow. So they were like, okay, you know what? Let's give them something right here. Boom, hit them. And then go back and have these scenes. And we're like, oh, okay. But at the same time, it is Marvel. We know how it goes. We should have seen the formula through WandaVision. And if everybody enjoyed WandaVision, by the end of it, they've made room to, do what they want to do, and I'll sit back and wait to see how it plays out. Very enjoying it so far.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Just from my thoughts and feelings, again, I enjoyed it too. I was definitely hooked. The action in the very, very beginning definitely was a nice change in pace. And I think the interesting thing about the MCU in general. A lot of people kind of, like with WandaVision, it was it started slow. First 2 episodes, there was that crew, and then they kind of built into it. And then, with this, it's kind of they kicked the door in from the very beginning, but then the rest of the episode was a lot more exposition and backstory and things like that. And I think what's been fascinating to me is kind of just seeing people who maybe didn't grow up reading comics or don't read a lot of comics, kind of wrestling with the idea that comic content has a multitude of tones, and every comic book hasn't been all about action. Every comic issue, even within a title that maybe might be focused more on action, isn't just 25 pages of non-stop action in a comic book. You need time to breathe. You need time to actually explain the story, introduce characters, introduce motive, get you to a place where you kind of fall in love with these characters and care about them, and then put them in danger. Because if you just put somebody in danger and we don't know anything about them or who they are, it's well, why do I care if they live or some random person. You know, it's not a character who I've invested in emotionally. So I think that Marvel does a good job of using like multiple genres, multiple styles, the different tones, different pacing to really just like engage us on like a multitude of different levels. And I think this is like the kind of that first time where I'm reaching this point where it's just like with the other MCU stuff, it kind of always felt like, well, even if I don't really care about like Ant-Man, I have to like see it because there's something in there that's gonna affect other movies, and it's only like 2 hours. I think we're kind of reaching that point where I'm ready to just tell people like, if you don't like sitcoms, don't watch WandaVision. If you don't like buddy cop stuff and action, shoot 'em up, bang bang, don't watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, and that's fine. And you know, it's not a slight against
But I
any
liked
of
all
the
the
other
Marvel movies, so why can't I
yeah,
like this too?
right. It's like it's not an indictment on Marvel. It's just like that's just not what kind of TV you like watching, and that's 100% fine. So I'm excited. Like I agree with you, Sam. Like that opening definitely like got me excited for like some of the action that I assume is coming on an even bigger scale. Just knowing like Falcon and Bucky and their skills and what we've seen them kind of do in the movies, I'm definitely excited to see like more. But I will say, and I guess like so, let's get into it. We're not gonna like go into like a super plot detail recap because, like we said earlier, not a lot happened. It was very like expository. It was very, you know, it was about setting up the characters and us getting in touch with who Sam and who Bucky have been for the past 5 years and what they've been doing, what they have going on, and where they are now. So I think we're kind of going to just break this down and talk about, you know, Sam and his kind of journey for a little while. Then we'll talk about Bucky, and then we'll wrap it up with that other guy who was at the end of the episode. So starting with Sam, um, you know, he got blipped, came back, end of Endgame, gets Cap Shield. That's all as Marvel fans. We're like, yeah, Cap Sam Wilson, we love it because we know the comic book. Um, but I thought it was interesting, you know, that he he seemed reluctant. He donates the shield to the Smithsonian, which on one hand is like I get that move, um, but he kind of has a conversation with Rhodey, War Machine, where Don Cheadle's character, and he's just like, "Hey, bro, what's going on? Why are you giving this up? Why aren't you doing this?" And then we also go to his home in Delacroix, Louisiana, where his sister has been struggling to keep the family fishing business going. So they have a boat. The sister's trying to sell it. He's trying to get a bank loan, which he gets denied, kind of going into some of the things that Will was talking about earlier. So Sam is kind of going through it, I would say, in a multitude of ways since Cap has been gone and figuring out who he is. So I'm just gonna throw this out there. What did you guys feel about like kind of Sam's kind of like how they're establishing Sam in this show and the journey that it seems like he's gonna have to go on?
I
I'll take it.
mean, jump right on it. It seems Sam is trying his very best to emulate what Captain America is, even though who Chris Evans' portrayal of Captain America is not who Sam is. They have a lot of the same qualities, and they have the same war experiences, for better or less. But at the same time, who Sam Wilson is, he's trying to wrap himself up into something that he just really just he needs to be his own version of Captain America because that is the whole it's just a symbol. You don't have to be the same person that Chris Evans was. You need to be who you are. And I feel like that's who he's struggling with trying to figure out right now. He's trying to be an everyday person on top of it.
Go ahead, Will.
I mean, I gotta disagree a little bit with that because he gave up the shield. It doesn't seem like he's trying to embody Captain America or what it is. I feel like he doesn't think that he's good enough to do that because he said that at the end of the movie. You know, it feels like it's someone else's, and that's one of the reasons why he gave it up. So I think his whole arc so far is he's struggling with, you know, coming to terms that Cap is gone. somebody else has to fill those shoes, and he doesn't feel like it can be him, and that's his biggest problem. And now going through story, he's just trying to get back to everyday life and stuff like that, and make sure his family's good and stuff like that. He's doing a little bit of stuff on the side here and there, but it's not the role that was given to him, so to speak, by Captain America. It's just kind of what he settled for. So he's got that inner struggle that he's trying to decide which way it's going to go.
I think the aspect of seeing him, do good for the sake of it being good. The question of he technically did not sign the Sokovia Accords, and because he didn't sign the Sokovia Accords, at some point he would have been considered a fugitive of justice. And when he got broke out of the raft, we have that whole bit. You move forward, you go through Infinity War Endgame. He's been blipped, gone for 5 years. So he's coming back. He's coming back off of a pardon, and he has his flight suit back, and it looks like he's picking up some military contracts. But he is not. There are no Avengers, and so he doesn't really have. He doesn't really have that direction, so to speak, and you know we really only know what Captain America was doing when he was being directed by S.H.I.E.L.D. Since there is no S.H.I.E.L.D., there may really be nothing for him to do. And so him having to make that adjustment and learn to have a normal life. And of course he's thinking that he's got a little bit of celebrity, and he was kind of banking on that celebrity, as we saw. And the realization that that isn't really how it works is going to sit in. And, you know, even though he's got those contracts, that obviously wasn't enough to indicate that it means anything. And to me, that was actually kind of shocking, because I thought they were going to, you know, go a different direction. I thought he was going to actually come in and be the hero, but they didn't do that.
Well, I think it's interesting too because it's like usually like in real life, when like you think about things that get passed down or passed like positions or titles, the only one I can kind of think of right now is like president or like the coach of a team or some prestigious title like that, right? There's usually like a ceremony. Like for president, we have a giant inauguration. There's like basically a visible and very public transference of power, and to a degree, like usually there's like some sort of acknowledgement, like even though like I ain't gonna vote for you, like we're all on board, we're trying to move this train forward together, and we're all like kind of on the same side when it comes to like acknowledging this transference of power. I mean, Sam got the shield under a shade tree. I can just see, I'm doing my own red stringing because I personally feel like it's weird that he's like I can't do it, even though he's like it feels like somebody else's. It's also like when Sam just like walks into whatever government building or to talk to the president, he's like, "Well, Cap went back in time and was an old man, and then he just gave me this shield under a shade tree out out in the middle of nowhere." It's kind of like, okay, like if I'm a government, I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean? Like that don't mean I have to like accept you as the new Captain America just because you say so. And so I'm really curious also just about like because like that conversation between James and the conversation between Rhodey and Sam really kind of felt like there were some things that Sam didn't say about why he didn't take up the mantle. Because for me, when I hear a black man stand up in front of a crowd of people and say we need new heroes for the new age that we're in, well, what better symbol of the new age that we are in technically than it would be to have a black man be Captain America? But, for whatever reason, which Marvel has not revealed to us yet in the MCU, I have a feeling that it's more than just Sam who feels like it's not necessarily the right move. And I feel like you could talk Sam into it and say like, let's respect the legacy and this and that. But at the end of the episode, when they reveal Fapped in America, Fake Cap, Agent, whatever his name is, Agent America, yada, yada, I was really like focusing on Sam's like disposition because he had the look of a man who had been told that the shield was going to be hung up and nobody was going to do it, and then they just pulled the rug out from under him and didn't like tell him that. And I don't know if any of you guys felt that at
Oh,
all from
definitely,
that scene.
definitely.
Okay, I
His
just want to
face
make sure I
screamed
wasn't
that.
crazy. I just want to make sure I wasn't crazy because I know I can put, I can get Malcolm X with and be like, see how they doing us, but it definitely felt like it seemed like he felt betrayed, and so I'm very interested to see like what he's gonna do there because some of us know you can't just walk in and kick in the door when you
Yeah,
don't have the
there's
complexion for
there's
the
some scenarios that won't work in your favor regardless. And honestly, I think the conversation he was having with Rhodey did actually. I like that they. I feel like that segment was well written in that it would be a familiar nuance to that conversation without them having to say specific things. And it allows, it leaves it a little more open for interpretation as to what this means or what that means. And it lets people be, a little bit more comfortable with it. But, it is definitely going to be a big part of the story, how they make the transition back to Sam.
yeah.
If promotional materials are to be believed, because I'm a real sucker for a good trailer, and you show me a couple of little scenes or something, I'm like, okay, that's gonna be there, that's gonna be there. Oh, that's probably gonna be important. And so, when you see the images of Falcon's new outfit and it's got the red, white, and blue colors and things like that. When you see the trailer that at some point he's practicing throwing that shield, they gonna get the shield back. How do we get there is gonna be the big part of the story. And what it was, whatever happens that makes him feel confident and comfortable and ready to step up is gonna be a lot of Sam's character growth. The same way we got that character growth from Wanda, and we saw her transition in WandaVision. I think we're going to get that same kind of thing here, because if we can switch over to Bucky for a minute, his list.
Yeah.
That's an area where we are seeing that character development. You know what I'm saying? Now he's still being Bucky about it. And he had the little remote control car thing, and that was pretty cool because I ain't seen something like that since James Bond. But that's that character development is going to be a part of the story, and that will be integral into helping us make that transition. And so I think they have a great character for it.
Anybody else got any Sam points they want to make or point out before we hop over to Bucky really quick?
Good.
I
All
got
right.
one
Oh, go ahead.
more. I'll
Go
just
ahead.
leave it at that. Touching on Sam's point about War Machine having that conversation with Falcon, it kind of felt apropos in a sense that both of them were more or less, while they are real legitimate heroes, they're considered sidekicks for their larger characters who both have departed the MCU. So it kind of felt like it was a necessary passing of the torch conversation between them. Be like, hey, you ready? We'll talk about it, kind of thing. Because War
Almost like,
Machine's ready to go, and Falcon's just like,
yeah,
yeah, we'll see. So,
almost like if you be Cap, I'll be Iron Man, and then we could just be Black Cap and Iron Man. You gotta do it first, man. You know what I mean?
It's like, you go, I'll go. If you go, I'll go. I'm just saying.
Or if you don't go, they're not gonna let me go.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah,
And but see, also a part of that is that Rhodey is military. He has been
yeah,
military the entire time. He's still military, and so the pararescue, Sam was basically like retired.
yeah,
As such, he got his wings back, so to speak, and so he can still go and do some of these things. But when he was working through Shield, he was just following Cap.
yep,
And so now that we literally have to see him grow into being in charge. as opposed to following suit.
Yep.
So that transition's gonna be good.
All right.
But yeah,
So then we
Bucky.
get to Bucky Barnes, aka Winter Soldier. We start with another action-packed scene. This one obviously a flashback because he's got his scary Winter Soldier mask. He kills a bunch of people, kills young Asian person who just happens to witness him taking out some people who obviously he was on a contract to kill. Obviously, it was a no witnesses situation, and Homeboy got caught in the wrong place at the right time. Then, boom, he wakes up in a cold sweat, sleeping on his living room floor. That was weird to me, but
I
it's
do all
clear
the time.
that Bucky is part of, he's in therapy. He's been pardoned, but part of his pardon is like therapy, and he's working on this list thing, a la My Name is Earl, where he's going to all the people who he either wronged or has helped do something bad, and he's just trying to like really make amends for his past. His past, more specifically, like when he was like mind controlled. We see like some great scenes between him and this older Asian man named Yuri, and it turns out that the young man that he kills for just being in the wrong place at the wrong time is Yuri's son. And we see Yuri kind of like still struggling to deal with the death of his son, and Bucky in turn struggling to deal with the
The guilt on
kind
his
of
conscience.
guilt on his conscience of like his previous actions. So what did you guys feel about kind of like the exploration of Bucky in in this episode?
Got PTSD straight up. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that he's going on, and you got to remember in the other movies, I can't remember which one exactly. He says he remembers all their faces. He remembers
Mm-hmm.
everybody. It's like that. So because of that, he's trying to again make amends as best he can. But I guess this is the one that hit him the hardest. It's like that. So and that's one of the reasons why befriending the father and all that kind of stuff, trying to work up the nerve to tell him like it's a slippery slope for him because it seems like every time he starts to make progress, he slips back down. And I kind of wonder if part of him thinks that, is he doing more damage than good, so to speak? Like I become your friend all up to this point, and then I tell you this, how are you gonna react? Versus I just walk up and tell you this, how are you gonna react? Like I don't know which way it's gonna go, but it's interesting because we're used to seeing Bucky just, hey, I'm coming in, I'm finna wreck shit, so
Yep.
that like you get to see, a lot of the trauma that he's been dealing with and stuff like that, and how he's trying to take steps to move forward. So
Yeah.
I mean, the him sleeping on the floor, I thought that was oddly reminiscent because wasn't it Falcon in the Captain America Civil War movie said, "Hey, sometimes you prefer sleeping on the ground, sleeping on a bed feels like you're about to slip through like a cloud or whatever." I thought that was a callback to that at some point in time, and I thought the couch scene with the therapist felt a lot like WandaVision. Like he was having that conversation where it's like, no, 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 this is fine. This is
Yeah.
fine. But deep down, Bucky ain't doing good, like Will was saying. He's struggling with the guilt of everything that he's done. And I
I'm a
would have been
When
sucker
she
so
for
clicked her
scared all
pin, he
that.
was like, again
yeah.
with the pin.
he's like, God
like
damn, Sam, you in
like
this
click
pin?
that pin one
Fuck.
more time. No, I'm a sucker personally for like therapy in TV shows. It's just like a character development plot. There's actually this show on HBO a few years ago called In Treatment, and it was like a really interesting show. It's like about a therapist, and he has like 4 clients, and so they're like all these like little mini episodes, and you can just follow his clients through their like journey on like what they're going through, and just like fascinating, just like the dialogue and the way like therapy is like written to me, because it's not really exactly how therapy works all the time, but it's really like fascinating, like the different personalities that they give. And I like that this therapist kind of had this attitude, was like, I'm not scared of you, Bucky. Like, so we're gonna do this right. You're not gonna BS me. Like, I'm not one of your like victims to be like cowering behind and hiding and all this other stuff like that. So, if you're not gonna take this seriously, like, we can, we can lock you back up and you can deal with it that way. just really, I mean, even like the angle, like kind of the like reverse angles where it's just like right on your face, and like you're really just forced to kind of like listen to like what is happening, listening to what they're saying. And I think being that zoomed in, you can realize like why the therapist can like see through the fact that he's lying about having nightmares and lying about all of these things. So yeah, I thought that was really really fascinating.
Now, you had mentioned the character Yuri, and when I first saw that, it wasn't to the end of the episode that it kind of cleared up and it made sense as to who that was and why that was even why that friendship was relevant. But I initially thought, and it was just because they were talking about how old he was and everything, him being 106. I initially thought that was one of the guys from his commando unit, because when they were showing back in I think it was Captain America, the First Avenger, there was one of the members of that unit was like an older Asian. Well, at the time he was a younger Asian guy, and I'm just thinking, like, who does Bucky even know? Like, outside of what would have been Cap and these other Avengers.
Well, even in therapy, the therapist says she's like, you only have 10 numbers saved in here.
So it's like, who does, and I'm sure that like some of those numbers were probably like DoorDash and Uber and Lyft, you know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't have 10 friends. He doesn't know
Right.
10 people. And so it's
One of them was probably Cap, who was no longer
right, so it's like he is dealing with all of this, and he's really having to deal with it alone. And as we may see, he may move forward, because I know in some cases, like, you hear about when you have these therapies, you can do like group sessions, or the therapist may want to see the person that is causing this feeling or something like that, if that person's available, so you can have two people come in. It makes perfect sense then that when he gets around and he gets this opportunity to work with Sam, that maybe that's where we get to that part. As far as like his personal growth, I think that it is, even if it is My Name is Earl-esque, I think it is very good that he is, in any way he can, try to make amends for these situations. And it shows that, he himself is not necessarily the bad person. He was made to do bad things, but, he's always had a good heart as well, because he was, he initially joined the military to try to fight for his country, and he was there to stand up for Steve Rogers when he was small and getting picked on. But, life has a funny way of changing things up, and his life definitely took an interesting turn.
I mean, he essentially like sacrificed himself in battle as well to like make sure like something really really bad didn't happen also. So yeah, I mean, he's dealing with a lot of guilt. He's dealing with he's just dealing with a lot. I thought like I think it was just like interesting, just like how quickly it can like turn. You know what I mean? Like, he goes from having that date with Leah, the young lady who worked at the restaurant that he went with Yuri, and they're playing like a game, and they're having a good time, and then even in her just trying to be like nice and say like it's really nice that you're like friends with Yuri, it's like the guilt just like swallows him up. And I think especially dealing with like WandaVision, I think WandaVision made me a lot more in tune with like the emotional cycles that characters will be going through in the MCU. I felt like before, yes, we did deal with some emotional stuff, but I felt like it was very like surface level, because we're like really getting to know the characters, and we still have to build this whole world. It was like the world's built. We know what it is. We understand kind of the parallels between like our world and the MCU and where like deviate. So now it's like, let's dive into like people. And as we get deeper into Winter Soldier, he goes from a killing machine to someone who's expressing guilt. But now we're seeing just how much it like consumed him, and how bad he feels about it, which is kind of a departure from before, where I think it was kind of just like after Civil War and all this stuff, we kind of just like assumed he felt bad because like he didn't mean to, but he's still like fighting everybody. But like now we're like seeing him like feel bad, and we're seeing it affect his life. We're seeing it keep him from being able to just like enjoy a date and make friends and
Yeah. Well, I mean,
get a good night's sleep.
I think that time he spent in Wakanda was, like
Yeah.
giving him some peace and whatever Shuri was doing down there to try to deprogram. I mean, he had his own little hut and everything. He had changed his outfit, so I don't know. He got real comfortable down there.
Yeah, the full surround.
But
Swoop.
you know what I'm saying? Like he was real comfortable. White Wolf was ready to do it, and of course, he was telling he had even mentioned to the psychiatrist that he literally went from one fight to the next. The only time he would wake up would be to fight or kill somebody. And now that there's no fight for him, he's probably got that weird feeling of, what do I do with myself? Because I can't see Bucky like having a regular job. My man got a metal arm. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's not just like a regular metal arm. It's a vibranium reconstruction from Wakanda. So it's like...
And it's one of those things where if he's trying to be anonymous, it's like, you could just be regular, like Joe Schmo white guy on the street, as long as I don't see that metal arm. When I see the metal arm, then I'm gonna look at your face and be like, oh yeah, Winter Soldier, you're the one who blew up the embassy with, you did all, yeah, and it changed. And I think like that's part of it too. It's just like he had peace in Wakanda because nobody was worried about him, nobody was scared of him. Because like, what could you really do? But like, he's now in a world where if people find out who he really is, it changes everything. And so that balance between like hiding and like trying to live a full life and living your like full truth was like Bucky's truth is not something that like
anybody wants to hear.
Anybody wants to hear about or be like close to. Like you can't just be like laying in bed with a girl you've been like dating for a while and she's like, tell me how you got this metal arms. Like, well, back in World, he's like, wait, what? You killed Iron Man's parents? And yeah. So, you're gonna have to find a pretty special and forgiving woman that's just not gonna be like sliding out of bed and putting in her clothes like in the middle of that story. So,
you know what? I just remembered I left something. Right, like, you know what? I just remembered. It, like, well, he got 10 numbers. We don't know what all of those numbers go to. Like, maybe could be some other numbers in there. I don't. I definitely like that when he was talking with the psychiatrist, she did not back down from him. She did mention that she was not afraid of him, and if I'm not mistaken, I caught her say that she had seen dead bodies too. And she knew that the toll it takes. She was, so with her being military, like, I think as we get towards, what movie was it? There was the movie with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. At the beginning of the movie, they were going to the marriage counselor. And they didn't really seem like they, enjoyed each other's company. And they were kind of off to the side. And it was really good that when they show them again visiting at the end of the movie, they're like happy to be there because now they're both madly in love since they actually know who they are, etc. So that was, I think that as we go through these episodes, if he continues to go to see the therapist, that will be an angle to truly show his character development. I'm gonna look forward to that. I bet he could catch that shield, though.
So the big reveal at the end of this episode was, you've heard of Cap, you've heard of WAP, now we have FAP, Fake Captain America, and
using the same format that Agatha used, Fietro. Yeah. Now we have FAP, Fapten America. That just sounds fantastic.
You know what? I just want everybody's like thoughts on when you saw him come out for the first time, and like just like what went through your mind like the first time you saw this dude.
This is
like that dude from Up, like trying to pretend to be Captain America.
He first came out, I was like, "Look, it's Mephisto." All right. So. No, he came out. I mean, he came out and he was cheesing. He looked like a straight tool. Like, I hope it gets better or something like that. But like he came out, looked at him, like okay, he looked like freaking. It was like uh Leave It to Beaver type characters or stuff like that, wearing a Captain America mask. Like it just didn't seem to fit him.
Right.
I didn't like the way it looked at all, stuff like that, and I think that it was really just it looked more like a marketing stunt than anything. Of course, it didn't
Right.
feel genuine. Like it just felt like, hey, look who's here. Like that's the dude on a cereal box. We don't give a fuck about him. So, that's
I don't like that his ears stick out of the helmet so much.
That's so
Like
stupid.
it was just this dude, and to be fair, like I don't want to say anything negative about Wyatt Russell, the actor, but
Yeah, he's a good
bruh,
actor.
like why does he look so goofy in this outfit? Like it just doesn't. And it's not even that it's not that it's not Chris Evans and I, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, Chris Evans is the only one who can be Captain. It's not that. It's just why do you look so goofy in this outfit?
Yeah.
And I can't. But you know the way they introduced him and everything, it was definitely a slap in the face to Sam because they did make it seem like oh thank you, you know the shield, it belongs here. We're going to hang it up for now. And tomorrow we're gonna take it out of there and give it to my man so he can run around with it. Like, so yeah, I'm curious to
Same
see
dude
how they.
talking a lot about where the shield belongs, and clearly the only thing that he felt was the shield does not belong with you.
So it will be interesting to see how this person goes, and you know, even introducing him as your new Captain America.
Right.
You know, it's like
I like Cap.
had the same the presenting of the shield had that been televised or had if that had been national news or something like that, I don't think they could have gotten away with it because of the things that were said by Sam as far as who this person is. And because if we don't know who this soldier is, if they're just presenting him as the new Captain America, like eventually everybody knew Steve Rogers. I mean, you what you could do with that information is probably very minimal in the MCU, but at the presentation, you know what I'm saying, like they know that Steve Rogers, when you go to the Captain America Museum, there's like all of these pictures and images and so it's like he's basically military product, a public display, a symbol. And unless this guy got half of that, then he's not really going to be a symbol. Even if I'm in this, I'm like, who is this dude? See, I just gonna make a new Captain America?
Well, yeah, because the whole thing is like it's not like with Steve. It was like, well, there was no Captain America. He takes the super soldier serum, becomes Captain America, and then does all the things, and then gets like the accolades and the fame and everything that comes with that. But once you start talking about passing the mantle on to someone else, you set a standard, and whoever comes next has is kind of pushed to live up to that standard. I kind of think it goes back to what even like Brent and Will were kind of talking about on opposite sides earlier, where it really is about the shield and like what it really means, but you're really having to fight against like what people think it means. And like to the government, Captain America means one thing, and it's like, Sam, if you can't be that, then you can't be Captain America. But for Sam, who fought side by side next to him, it means something completely different. And so, if their philosophies on like what the symbol even means and who you have to be to like wield that shield don't align, the government just steps in and is like, well, we created super soldier serum. Like, Stark built the shield through a government contract, so we own all that. We probably copyrighted the name Captain America, so if you try to do something, we're gonna sue you because you don't own the name. You know what I mean? So it's just like a lot of red tape and bureaucracy that all that probably got tied up in, and they probably went through like an extensive search and came up with like the most all American guy they could come out with, and
John
It ended
Walker.
up being like, like I know that dude's a good actor, but it kind of looks like, I don't know if y'all ever been to LA, but they got the people like on Hollywood Boulevard that are like celebrity lookalikes. Like they always had a Superman dude on Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
It felt like that. It felt like I took a picture with Captain America as a kid, and then you look back and you're like, that's not Chris. All right, so I know there was some other things that happened in this episode, but stuff that didn't get like that fleshed out, like the little terrorist group and the other characters. And I'm sure as those things make more significant impact on the show, we will definitely be talking about those things. But we definitely wanted this to be kind of a quick little jump off point to kind of talk about how we felt about the episode. So anybody have any kind of final closing thoughts about the episode, the characters that they want to get out before we shut this thing down?
It's nice to see Batroc. It was nice just to see him in action. It's nice
Or
that
say Pierre.
they carried it over. So it's like that was a nice little scene.
That this is probably the best flying I've seen Sam do in all of the movies.
Yeah, for sure.
And just that segment alone, I'm like, why didn't they feature that heavier or feature that more with his character previously? Like that was phenomenal. Yeah. But then it's like, I guess they had Iron Man for that. And, for those types of like big flight scenes, they were kind of reserved for Iron Man. By the time, we got Iron Man and then we had War Machine, both of them could kind of do it. And they were the ones that were actually it was War Machine against Falcon when, Vision actually hit War Machine. So they've had some opportunity to put it there, but it's like the stuff my man can do and the way he pulls off that wingsuit, like being able to, have the wings out, fold them down, the thruster, Red Wing. Man, I'm looking forward to everything Sam does on this show.
Yeah, for sure.
You're biased just because your name is Sam.
I mean, that ain't a bad thing, but like, that's not a bad thing. I just, but I do think, like I said, that opening action segment made me sit patiently for the rest of the show, just in case he was going to be back in the wingsuit again. And even
I feel like they had to start it like that just to be like, man, he ain't no scrub. We've seen Winter Soldier do work.
Right.
And we've seen Sam do cool things, but we ain't seen Sam do work like that yet in the MCU. So, like, I agree with you on that point. Like, seeing him kind of go to work like that in tight spaces, in the sky, all that stuff, I think was definitely, like, much, much needed. So, with that, we want to say thank you to everybody for joining us. If you haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And go ahead and ring that notification bell so you can get hot, fresh, steaming, piping, hot. When it comes out to you, I said hot twice because that's how hot these shows are. But yeah, we're going to be definitely doing a lot of content around Falcon and Winter Soldier. Definitely going to be trying to do episode recaps for every episode. Probably mix in a little red string here and there, and also with all the other content coming out like Snyderverse, etc. We'll definitely be having things up for that. So please stay tuned. Please subscribe so we make sure have your voice heard in our community. Leave a comment. Leave a theory. How did you feel about Sam? How did you feel about Bucky? What do you think is going to happen next? Did you like Fap? Don't tell us how you feel about that.
And don't tell us if you like Fap. Just let us know how you feel about U.S. Agent or the new Captain America.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I could already see the comment section with that one.
For Sam, Brent, and Will, I have been Jeffrey. Peace out. We will see you on the next episode.